Hello students, welcome to my second video of applied history. Let me have a review of what we have learned in the previous video. We have learned what is applied history. We have learned that applied history is also known as public history. Applied history is a field of study concerned with application of history for the benefit of the people in the contemporary and the future times. We have also learned that people are having certain misgivings, or we may say they are not very familiar with the practicality of the knowledge of history. For example, history is usually thought as a field of interest only for the historians and the students wishing to pursue higher studies in this subject. They don't correlate history with the practical life. They have a question in their mind whether history have any applicability to economics or productive field. Now, my dear students, we have also learned applied history in research of various fields. We have learned about history and philosophy. We have learned about history and science, the relation between history and science. We have also learned about history and technology, and we have seen over there how man from the stone tools, he has evolved, or he has brought progress in the field of science and technology, especially related to technology, how he has brought modern machines to make life easier. We have also seen industry and commerce. Under industry and commerce, we have seen that how man who has first used barter system, now he is using currency. We have also seen management studies and history. And we have seen that we give importance to speciality. Those who are expert in their work, that work is given, that is called management. We have also seen history and art, and we have seen the various styles of art forms and how the art forms gradually changed with the modern time. Now, my dear students, now I would like to continue with history and humanities. Now, when I speak of history and humanities include disciplines like history, archaeology, sociology, anthropology, political science, and economics. To understand the history of the origin of the development of these disciplines, it is essential part we need to learn history. All the disciplines are supposed to have their origin in philosophy. Ancient people all over the world tried to speculate in order to understand the relationship between universe and human existence. Now, my dear students, it was believed by our ancient people that there is some supernatural power which is existing in universe. And so, in order to praise and to please that supernatural power, they need to be pleased either through sacrifice or through prayers or through songs. Now, when I say this, it reflects on saying that it gave rise to various mythological stories about the origin of the world, the universal order, human life, God and goddesses, rituals, and their philosophical explanation. The roots of philosophical pondering are to be found in these mythological stories. Various disciplines under humanities have theoretical foundation based on philosophical theories. Only historical knowledge can help us in understanding these development stages. Now, my dear students, we will see how applied history is helping us in the present scenario, in our present. People often ask the practical value of history. As I told you, there are misgivings that history is not practical. With history, we cannot gain anything. But answer to this question about the nature of applied history, the answer to this question can be given. Like, you can see that there are visible and invisible relics of the past exist in the present. We nurture some of a kind of curiosity and attraction towards them. We wish to know about their history because they represent the creative thoughts and the tradition of our ancestors. It is our heritage. It helps in building our identity. The history of our heritage links us with the origin. Hence, it becomes necessary to preserve and conserve it for the future generation, for our benefit as well. Applied history is concerned with the preservation and conservation of our heritage and make it accessible to the people. Heritage management creates opportunity of employment. In brief, applied history can be described as understanding of our present with the help of history and finding out a right direction for the benefit of future or for the future generation. Now, I would like to speak something about the management of cultural and natural heritage. As we have already seen in the applied history, the cultural and the management of cultural and natural heritage. Now, when I speak of cultural and natural heritage, they are of two types. One is tangible or cultural heritage, and second one is intangible. Now, when I speak of tangible cultural heritage, it includes ancient sites, example Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, buildings, Red Fort, our Gate of India, artifacts, manuscripts, sculptures, paintings done by Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo. Intangible cultural heritage, which includes oral traditions and their languages. As we all believe, Sanskrit is our oldest language. It is the mother language of all the Indo-European languages. Traditional knowledge. The Bhakti of Mirabai. It is orally transmitted to the peoples. Social customs and rituals of celebrating festivals. Styles of performing arts. Certain traditional skills which are passed from one generation to another, like I will say Varli painting. It is passed from one generation to another. Community groups which represents such traditions, customs and skills. Now, this is all about cultural and natural heritage. Now, when I said this is about cultural heritage, now I would like to speak about the natural heritage. The concept of natural heritage give importance to the thought of biodiversity. It includes fauna, flora, ecology, geomorphic characteristics, which is crucial for sustaining the flora fauna of a particular region. It is essential for the benefit of the future generation to preserve our heritage. UNESCO, the global organization, has announced some directives with the objective of promoting the cultural and natural heritage. On the basis of those directive list of the sites and traditions, they are declared as World Heritage. Now, I would like to give you examples of certain World Heritage which is there in Maharashtra. And I'm proud to say the list of UNESCO's World Natural Heritage now includes Western Ghats, the Khas Plateau in district Satara, and also the Western Ghats. Now, my dear students, let us see at a glance few of the Indian tradition declared as oral or intangible heritage. One is Kutiyattam, Sanskrit theatre in Kerala, 2001. The tradition of Vedic chanting, 2003. Ram Leela, the traditional performance of Ramayana in Uttar Pradesh, 2005. Raman, religious festival, rituals, theatres of Garhwal, Himalayas, 2009. We could also see the Buddhist chanting of Ladakh, recitation of sacred Buddhist text in the Trans-Himalayan Ladakh region, Jammu Kashmir. Sankirtana, ritual singing, drumming and dancing of Manipur in 2013. We could also see 2016 yoga. Now, there are few World Cultural Heritage sites in India. I would like to mention few of the famous ones. 1983 Agra Fort, 1983 Ajanta Caves, 1983 Verul Ellora Caves, 1983 Taj Mahal, 1984 Group of Monuments at Mahabalipuram, 1984 Sun Temple at Konark, 1986 Churches and Convents of Goa, 1986 Fatehpur Sikri, 1986 the Group of Monuments at Hampi, 1986 Khajuraho Group of Monuments, 1987 Elephanta Caves. We could go on further. There are a few more natural heritage which are as follows. I would like to go towards Darjeeling. The 1999 Mountain Railways of India. Under Mountain Railways of India, there are Darjeeling Himalayan Railways, Nilgiri Mountain Railway, the Kalka Shimla Railway. Further, we could also go to 2003, where the rock center of Bhimbetka. 2004, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj Terminus, Mumbai, whom the previous name was VT, Victoria Terminus. 2007, Red Fort Complex, Delhi. 2010, Jantar Mantar, Jaipur. 2013, Hill Forts of Rajasthan. 2016, the Capitol Complex at Chandigarh. 2017, Ahmedabad Historical City. World Natural Heritage Sites. 1985, Kaziranga National Park. 1985, Manas Wildlife Sanctuary. 1987, Sundarbans National Park. 1988, Nanda Devi. 2005, Flowers National Park. 2012, Western Ghats. 2014, Great Himalayan National Park Conservation Area. Now, my dear students, these are the few natural and cultural heritage sites. Now, we will see who are responsible to take care of these cultural and natural heritage management. Now, when I say who will conserve and preserve, the work of conservation and preservation of the natural and cultural heritage fall under the jurisdiction of Archaeological Survey of India, which is at the national level, and India's State Department of Archaeology. Besides State Department of Archaeology and Archaeological Survey of India, there is Indian National Trust of Art and Cultural Heritage, which is actively working in the field of conservations and preservations of cultural and natural heritage. Now, along with them, there are few participation of experts who are experts in various fields. They need to duly be aware of social, cultural, and political histories of heritage sites. Now, along with that, when the experts are working in various fields, they need to have certain awareness. Now, what are this awareness while they are handling this historical sites? Now, the first one, it is believed that the operation necessary for conservation and preservation and the development of heritage sites can be handled without causing any change in original state. The key words here are conservation, preservation of development of heritage sites without causing any change in the original site. Second one, the local social structure and the psychology of local people, challenges faced by them in the present situation, and their expectation can be surveyed in detail. Before getting into this preservation of the natural site and conservation, you need to know about the psychology of the people. Otherwise, it will hurt maybe in the religious sentiments. Third, due to the precautions taken to avoid hurting sentiments of the local people while completing the projects of the conservations and the preservations and the development of heritage sites. As I told you before, we need to know the pulse of the local people. The second last one, I would like to say, participation of the local people in the project can be facilitated. Like, we have to, while we are conserving the natural sites or the cultural sites, provide employment to those people who are locally. They will be very happy. They would like to do more and more. And last but not the least, systematic plans can be designed to employ the local skill in creative way and to create better opportunity of livelihood for the localites. Now, thus I would like to end the second part of my video. Thank you very much, students. Very soon I will come out with the third part of my video of applied history. Thank you.